Hello, I'm Mehmet.
Hello, I am Meyrem.
We're cooks in the kitchen of the Palace of the Padishah. We're in Turkey, and in Turkey, a Padishah is the name we call a king. I'm the best cook in the kitchen.
No, I am the best cook.
I'm the best cook. Anyway, while we cook, we like to tell stories, and I'm going to tell you a story now.
And I'm going to tell you a story later.
My story is called The Crow Peri, and Peri is another name we give to a fairy. Once upon a time there was a man, and he had one son. This man used to go out into the forest all day, and it was his job to catch birds, which he sold to anyone who wanted one. They only earned a little money, so the man and his son lived a humble life, and there was never enough to eat. Unfortunately, the father died, and the son was left all alone. What shall I do now? He thought. How will I put bread on the table and soup in the pot? Anyway, the young man thought that he too must go out into the forest and catch birds. So he took his father's trap and set it high up in a tree. And at that moment, a crow flew upon the tree, and as the trap was cunningly laid, the poor bird was caught. And as the young man travelled up the tree to view the bird, he was surprised because the crow began to speak. "Please, Master Birdcatcher, please let me go, and in exchange I shall give you something more precious and beautiful than myself." The crow begged and pleaded with the young man until he decided to let her go, and off she flew. He then reset the snare high in the tree and waited at the foot. Presently, another bird flew straight into the snare and was caught. The young man went from the bottom of the tree, climbed up, and was amazed at what he saw, for he had never seen a bird so beautiful. And as he was there, gazing in amazement, the crow visited him and said, "If you take that bird to the Padishah, he will buy it from you." So the young man took the bird, put it in a cage, and travelled to the palace, where he wanted to meet the Padishah. So the young man took the bird, put it in a cage, and set off for the palace. When the Padishah saw the bird, he said, "What a beautiful bird! I don't think I've ever seen anything so beautiful. I must have it for my own. Vizier, give this young man his weight in gold as payment for the beautiful bird." But the vizier was jealous of the young man and plotted how he could cause him misfortune. When he had his plan, one day he went to the Padishah and said, "How happy that bird would be if it had an ivory palace to dwell in." Yes, that would be very fine. But where will I find enough ivory to make a palace? The one who brought you the bird, he will know." So the Padishah sent for the young man and commanded him to make an ivory palace there and then. "Alas, my lord, where will I get enough ivory to make a palace?" That is your business. You have 40 days.
And if it is not here then, your head shall be where your feet are. So, the young man, not knowing what to do, left the palace in his quest for ivory.
What troubles you, young man? Have you lost all your gold?
No, but I shall lose my head if I do not find enough ivory to make a palace. And the young man explained to the crow what had happened.
Well, that's nothing at all to fret about. Here is what you must do. Go back to the Padishah and ask him for 40 wagon loads of wine, which you must then take into the forest until you come across 40 large trenches. Then, fill these trenches with the wine because this is where the elephants drink. And once they get drunk, they will tell you where to find the elephant graveyard, and you can help yourself to as much ivory as you wish, and then return to the Padishah.
So, the young man did as he was told, and returned to the palace with his wagon full of ivory, and the Padishah rejoiced and had the palace built, and he gave the young man more rich gifts than before, and sent him on his way. But the vizier was still jealous. Shall I tell you what happens next? Well, despite having a beautiful palace to live in, the bird refuses to sing. So the vizier tells the Padishah that if the bird saw his master, perhaps that would make him sing. The Padishah then commands the young man to find the bird's master. And the crow, he tells the young man that he must go to the Padishah and ask him to build him a ship big enough to hold 40 maid servants. But the vizier was still jealous. Shall I tell you what happens next? Well, despite having a beautiful palace to live in, the bird refuses to sing. So the vizier goes to the Padishah and says to him that if the bird saw his master, perhaps that would make him sing. Then the Padishah commands the young man to find the bird's master, and the crow tells the young man that he must go to the king and ask him to build him a ship big enough to hold 40 maidservants, a beautiful garden, and a bathhouse. Then sail to a secret island where 40 fairies live. But he must only allow the Queen Fairy on board, and when she is inside the bathhouse, taking a bath, he must then set sail and bring her back to the Padishah, for the Queen Fairy is the bird's master. And the Padishah sees the Queen of the Fairies and falls instantly in love with her and asks her to marry him, and the young man is a guest of honour at their wedding. But the vizier is still jealous, and when the queen falls ill, he tells the Padishah that she can only be cured with water from a well far, far away at the top of a mountain, guarded by 2 fierce lions. And of course, the Padishah sends the young man off to fetch the water. But the crow gives him a magic feather which he must touch on the mouths of the lions, so that they will not harm him when he attempts to take the water. The young man returns to the palace with the water, gives it to the queen, and she is cured instantly. And the first thing she sees as she opens up her eyes is the crow. It's you, you mischievous slave. I do hope you haven't caused this young man any trouble. My friends, this bird used to be my serving maid, and I turned her into a crow because she was so careless. But now I see that she really does do good, and I release her from my spell. And at that moment, the crow trembled and transformed into a beautiful girl, and everyone gasped in amazement. And the Crow Fairy and the young man were married. The Vizier, for all his evil schemes, was banished, and the young man was made Vizier by the Padishah, and they all lived happily ever after.
My story is called The Golden Haired Children. Once upon a time, as days long gone by, there stood a great city. And in this city, they dwelt 3 poor damsels. From morning to evening, from evening to morning, they did nothing but sew and stitch, stitch and sew. And when their embroideries were finished, one of them would take them to the marketplace to sell them so they could get some gold. But one day, the Padishah of the city got really angry at his citizens and said,
"For 3 days and 3 nights, no one should light a candle. No one. Servant, servant."
"Yes, sir."
"Servant, go all around and make sure that my citizens are obeying my law."
"Yes, sir. Very good, sir. Everybody listen to me. The Padishah says that for 3 days and 3 nights, no one should light a candle. No one." What were these 3 poor sisters to do? At the end, they could not sew in the dark. The first sister, who was very greedy, said,
"What? No light? I need light to see what I'm eating."
The second sister, who was very vain, said, "Oh, hello. What? No light? I need light to see all the beautiful clothes I have." The third sister, who was very nice, said, "I've got an idea. If we take this cloth and we cover the windows, maybe we can keep our candle alight and we could continue sewing." And that's exactly what they did. But they didn't pull the cloth properly, and so there was a small glimmer of light. On the 3rd night, the Padishah said,
"Servant, come with me. I want to make sure that my citizens are obeying my law. And if I see just a glimmer of light..."
"Yes, sir. Very good, sir. I really think that's a really good idea, sir. Because if you..."
Oh my Lord!
"Sir, come here, sir. Look, there's a glimmer of light over there. Sir, would you like me to go there and take whoever is in that cottage and kill them, kill them, kill them? Yes, sir, yes."
Yes!
"Yes."
No! Actually, I am going to check who dares to disobey me.
And so the Padishah went close to the window and heard everything that the 3 sisters were saying.
If I could marry the chief cook of the Padishah, what wonderful food I would have. And I would sew a carpet so long that all his men and all his horses could find room upon it.
Well, if I could marry the keeper of the wardrobe of the Padishah. How many wonderful clothes I would have, and I would sew a tent so big that all his men and all his horses could find shelter beneath it. If I could marry the Padishah himself, I would not ask for anything in return, and I would give him 2 beautiful children, a boy with a half moon on his forehead and a girl with 2 stars in her dimples. The next morning, the Padishah called the 3 sisters to his palace and said to them,
So, you said that if I let you marry my chief cook, you would sew a carpet so long that all my men and all my horses could find room upon it. Is that true?
Yes, sir, that is true, yes.
And you said that if I let you marry the keeper of my wardrobe, you would sew a tent so big that all my men and all my horses could find shelter beneath it. Is that true?
Yes, sir, that is true.
But you said you want to marry me.
Yes, sir, and if I could marry you, I would ask for nothing in return, and I would give you 2 beautiful children, a boy with a half moon on his forehead and a girl with 2 stars in her dimples. And so the Padishah married the 3rd sister and gave the 1st sister to his chief cook and the 2nd sister to the keeper of his wardrobe. After 9 months, he went to check if the sisters have kept their promises.
So, where is my tent that you promised me, where all my men and all my horses could find shelter beneath it?
Well, sir, actually, I am too beautiful and too precious in these beautiful clothes, and I can't get my hands dirty. I think you will have to do without your tent.
And you said that you were going to sew a carpet so big that all my men and all my horses could find room upon it. Where is it? Well, actually, I'm too fat now. I can't sew anymore. I think, sir, you will have to do without your carpet. I had to send your sisters away. They didn't keep their promises. What about you? Why shouldn't I send you home as well?
Well, sir, I have kept my word. Today, I brought into the world these 2 beautiful golden-haired children. The boy with a half moon on his forehead, and the girl with 2 stars in her dimples. And so the Padishah, his wife, and the golden-haired children lived together in the palace, happily ever after.
That's a good story. But we have to stop telling stories now because it's time for the Padishah's dinner and he wants us to serve it. Come on, let's go.
Yes, we've got no time to lose. Goodbye!
Goodbye.